I'm going to show you what the equivalent of a Planeswalker is in Hearthstone. Before we even get into this, they're not 1-to-1. They're not like infinite. They do not have like a point system, but it's as close as Hearthstone has gotten to that kind of like concept. At the same time we're recording this video, I'm also going to show a Magic player the equivalent of what the Planeswalker is in Hearthstone. And we're going to see what card game you guys are better at evaluating these really interesting design cards in Hearthstone. As a Magic player, you theoretically should do way better than he did.
Now, do not put that pressure on me. I have been on vacation. I am known for bad takes. I already have enough pressure riding on this. And if I lose to a Yu-Gi-Oh player, I will be destroyed in the public eye. Magic the Gathering will disown me. There's enough pressure without that. Thank you.
Okay. Most importantly, you're going to rank them in from best to worst as we continue going through all the Titans. But I'm going to let you know one thing. One of them was nerfed, and your goal is to put the highest one at the top because that is the one that you think got nerfed.
The highest one, the one that got nerfed, is what we want to be number one. That's
exactly.
Is that like worth 100 bonus points? Is that the golden stitch? If I catch that, do I just win?
When you play a Titan, you can watch the video. You see those three little circle things at the bottom there? Those are what we like to call the Titan's abilities. Kind of like a Planeswalker, right? Those three things can only be used once. So if I use one of them, I can't use it again. This cannot attack until all of these things are gone.
Aonar, the Lifebinder, is a 10 mana crystal 5/7 Titan. After this uses an ability, summon a 5/5 ancient with taunt.
That's so good. So you get the ability and you get a 5/5. Like, I'm like, okay, this was already good enough without that. And you get to just do, I haven't even read anything else. And the fact that you're already like saying that this is like a Planeswalker is going to be crazy. Okay.
Reminder. This one's 10 mana. This one's 10 mana. So you're utilizing every
Druid.
one of your
Who cares that it's 10 mana? So it has 3 abilities. So the first one, spontaneous growth, draw cards until your hand is. Sure. Okay. Okay, so for context, yeah, so for context, full is 10 cards, right?
Full is 10 cards, yeah. There is a card in the game currently in the standard format that does say your hand size is increased to 11.
You get to draw 10. Who the cares about the 11th card? Like, oh no, I can't draw 11. Whatever am I going to do playing Hearthstone?
It's like 4 busted cards in one.
It's a druid card for sure. Yeah, that's how they operate.
So second ability, Bountiful Harvest, restore your hero to full health. That's also crazy. And then Flourish, refresh your mana crystals. Okay, so this card's actually just insane. That's what you're telling me. This card's insane. Like, I don't even. What do I need to evaluate? Like, okay, the worst part of this is that it's 10 mana. Oh no, in Druid, how am I going to get 10 mana? Oh, boo hoo. And then you get it. It's a 10 mana 10/12 basically because you play this, you activate the ability. So like, yeah, you like oh, and it's taught. It's protected too. So it's gonna survive. This is broke. This is nuts. This is nuts. I don't have to say anything else. This card's cracked. It's cracked.
It's almost like they were playing a game of we can do anything we want if it's this expensive, but we all know Druid is cracked. So
right.
Obviously it's gonna play this. This card is nuts. It's nuts.
Okay, so because you're not comparing it to any other Titan currently, this card's very good, obviously. In Standard, this card has been played in virtually every single Druid deck since its release. I don't imagine it's going to be taken out at any point in time.
I'm shocked. Truly, Rarran.
If you steal this minion, like let's say the Druid, you're going against a Druid and you steal it, you will be able to use that ability immediately, just not the one that they decided to use. So there is that consideration as well.
Yoinks. We got yoinks. It's got to be a lot of risk to playing one of these if it gets yoinked. I bet yoink cards are popular now.
Yeah, very good. This was also, interestingly, one of the first Titans that they showed us. And like this really set the tone of like what Titans will be, because it is very rare that you look at a card and go like, what the f are they doing?
The Primus is an 8 mana 7/9 Titan. After this uses an ability, discover a card with that rune.
So I imagine that like it's going to have like one of each of the types that you were mentioning.
Yes,
so it's like,
exactly.
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. So Runes of the Unholy is summon 2 3/3 undead with taunt and reborn. I'm noticing a trend that like immediately you're just summoning guys with taunt so that these stay alive for longer. So that's good. That's already broken.
Runes of Blood is destroy an enemy minion. This minion and your hero gain its health. Ooh.
Yeah. So that means maximum health, by the way. As in, if you're at 30, which is the max, and let's say I eat Eonor, because like they played it that I want to kill at. My hero's maximum health would be 37, and the Primus would also gain 7 life.
Oh, so you can go over starting life total with that? That's bizarre.
Yes.
Okay, so gaining health for a hero is okay. Yeah, that's neat.
Runes of Frost. The next spell you cast costs 3 less and has spell damage plus 3. Interesting. Being able to go like 8 mana pop a guy, it is... Do you get to pick or is it random for Runes of Blood?
You get to pick.
I mean, there's other cards that do that for cheaper, but you're getting all the other benefits that come with this guy. So, like, that's really good. And the overhealing thing is just cracked. I mean, if we're talking about waster, he could have not even had the Runes of the Unholy and just had Runes of Blood, and that probably would have, like, been sufficient, honestly.
It seems like a good card, like on the merit of you play this and you use one of the abilities. Particularly, I like Runes of Blood.
The Runes of Frost thing is fine. I think it's like very specific, obviously, because like you're wanting to pair this with some sort of card or multitude of cards. And it doesn't even have to be a Frost spell that gets the benefit. It's just anything you cast is 3 less and spell damage plus 3. So that's also really good. I could see that just enabling a whole multitude of nonsense that would get people to uninstall this game.
Man, like on its own, it's a competitor, but you got to go with the Druid card first when it comes to big mana. Like it's probably gonna come out sooner, despite being 2 mana more. And I think the abilities are, I think the abilities on Primus are good, and they are game warping in a sense. I feel like Eonor's has more game breaking like ability, right? I think that Eonor can break a game and Primus can like warp a game.
Like, I feel like the flexibility on Eonar is just like way crazier and the ceiling's way higher. Where Primus is good, I don't think it's bad, but it's just like, I think Eonar is just way more abusable. So I put Eonar over Primus for now. Okay, so we've got Argus the Emerald Star. Cool name. Minions to the left of this have Rush, and ones to the right have Lifesteal. So to clarify here, does this extend to all sides of Argus? There's the minions on the left and right. Do the ones to the left and right of those minions also have Rush and Lifesteal, or is it adjacent specific to him?
If he's in the middle, like let's just say you put like the 7 board slots, you put him in the middle, whatever's on the left has Rushed, regardless of where it is. So
all 3 would have Rush, or all 3 in the instance of putting him in the middle, right? Because you could put him on the far right, and now all 6 things on the left have Rush. Okay, that's
yes,
insane.
you can.
Great.
Yeah. Crystal Carving. Discover a Death Rattle minion. It costs 3 less. Okay. Wow.
Second, Show of Force. Reduce the cost of all minions in your hand by 2. Okay, that's insane.
I bet it's very reasonable to play this, use that ability, and play out other things. There's probably some chains of cards you could throw together in a perfect universe.
And then Argonite Army. Summon 4 2/2 elementals with taunt. I like how they all have the taunt thing. Man, they really wanted to make sure you got to play these cards.
Now, I'm going to mention that for the army. The way that it actually works is that 2 of them go to Lifesteal and 2 of them go to the Rush side.
And that makes sense, too. I feel like if you got to choose, then that would make this card way better than it probably already is. Discovering a guy that costs 3 less, like, that's fine. It's a card. I think out of, like, almost everything I've read so far, that seems to be, like, the least powerful effect. Yeah. Like, that or, like, even like the Runes of Frost, I feel like has better application than this, in all honesty.
So a lot of the Death Rattle stuff I know of is small. So this might just be a free, cheap thing. Maybe that's not as good as I hope it is. Is it better than the Primus? Because I don't think it's as good as the Druid one. Eonar.
Okay.
I don't think it's that good.
I'm actually like the least impressed with Argus so far. Like, there's combo potential for sure. I think so far out of what I've seen, Argus is the worst one.
Okay.
Yes.
Ooh.
I like it better than the Primus. It's a mana cheaper, and it gets to start hitting things that turn because it makes a whole board. The Primus does something kind of similar with the Taunt Reborn ones. It's stickier, but I think that this is... I think I like this better.
I understand it could be good. I think it's just contextual. I think the other two, as soon as you're playing them, they make this immediate impact, where Argus requires some degree of setup or some degree of combo to make it worth playing. Agrimar the Avenger. Battlecry, equip a 3/3.
Don't know. Come on.
You're good. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Taishalak.
Taishalak? Anyway, 6 mana, 3/7. So this has had the worst stats so far. But it is Hunter, so, like, who cares?
3 mana, 3/3 weapon. Yeah, this equips, and then your hero does the thing where it, like, rises up out of its little seat and goes and punches something with this weapon, and you get to use it 3 times. That's what the armor on it is?
Yes.
Maintain order. Give your weapon after your hero attacks, draw a card. I mean, I like drawing cards. It's fine.
Commanding Presence. Give your weapon after your hero attacks. Summon a 3/3 Enforcer with Taunt. Vrykul Enforcer. We're also getting something with Taunt again. Great.
Give your weapon +2 attack, and your hero is immune while attacking. Oh.
Isn't there already some old ass weapon in Hearthstone that like gives you immune while you're attacking? Is it like Gladiator's Longbow or something like that? Yeah. I remember. Oh my god.
All the way from Classic, yeah.
So the one thing I immediately don't like about this is that everything is slotted to the weapon. And I know Hunter plays with weapons. That's like not anything new. But the fact that they're all just like weapon-based things. Like even to get your guy with Taunt, you have to attack with the weapon.
Play pattern. This comes down as a 3/7. You do the Swift Slash. It becomes a sword that hits for 5, and you don't lose anything. So, I mean, it's 6 mana to come down and kill something with 5, or go 5 face. That's how I understand that. That seems pretty good. That seems pretty good. Dang. All right.
So it's either like, do you want 3 cards, 3 enforcers, or immunity with 3 attacks? I think it's fine. I think it's a very Hunter card. It wants to do what Hunter does, but I feel like it's very one note. Even like the fact that it has these different modal abilities, I don't even feel like they're all that great. Like they're all fine, but like they're all trying to do the same thing at the end of the day. I think now I think this is below Argus.
Okay.
Like these other 2 are good. The Swift Slash seems like the one that's like the immediate presence is very powerful because you give that to the weapon and then you get to get that bonus for the next 2 turns, right?
Yeah. I get this one. Like all of them are very contextual for what you want.
Yeah.
But this one's like really cool because if you need more cards, like you would pick the maintain order first, right? If you want to do more damage, then Swift Slash is great. They're all good in their own way. But I see where your face, or where your head's at. You want to do more damage.
I mean, that's the vibe that I get when I see weapons. It just feels like an aggressive ability. But yeah, it could also just be sequence it to draw 3 cards. Ah, God, this is tough. I think it's 1 or 2. I think this one's 1 or 2. I'm going with number 1 for now. I might move it. Later. Okay. I'm going with number 1 right now. I think this card is absolutely cracked. Like they could just be dead. It goes face, dude.
Oh, that's sick art. That's cool. Okay, so this is 6 mana. Norganon. So after this uses an ability, double the power of... I already can't wait to see where this goes.
Hold up. Let's read some abilities. Progenitor's Power, deal 5 damage. Oh, so that could be deal 20 if it's the last one used.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
Oh my God. This is I'm gonna ask this. I already know the answer.
Sure.
I'm assuming if you use one ability, it doubles the power of the other. And then if you use the second one, it doubles the power of the last one.
Yes. Yeah.
So deal 5, 10, or 20 damage. Great. Okay. Ancient Knowledge, enemy cards cost 1 more next turn. So that's kind of cool because that means it doubles to 2 and then doubles to 4.
Dude, bro. Unlimited potential. Cast 1 random mage secret. Wait a minute. So cast 4 random mage secrets if it's the last thing.
Yes.
Now, this notably is the first Titan that does not have an ability to make taunts to protect itself.
Yes.
So the health is actually a lot more relevant on this card because you can't just like throw this into an established board most of the time because then it'll actually probably get run over unless you have some other way to protect it that's not from Norganon itself.
If you're not under pressure, then you are probably going to, I would guess, Ancient Knowledge them. Just mess up their curve, makes it really likely you're gonna have this on the next turn. And then the next turn, if they play something epic, well, that's the other thing about these cards, right? You know what their next mode could be. They're not gonna play something huge because you have the thing that does 10 damage to it. Or will they? Because they don't want to take 20. So God, what a double feels bad. Oh my God.
So that enemy cards costing 1, 2, or 4 more on the next turn is really good. The last time you and I did one of these videos, I talked about Lotheb and how great that is. So as long as you can get to the 3rd turn, like you basically just win at that point because they're just not going to be able to, that's a turn skip. That effectively for all intents and purposes
it really is.
It's a turn skip where they play 1 card at most. I mean, that's where that's going. And then Progenitor's power is nuts because in a super simplified game state, if they can't answer it and they're on like low-ish life, then you effectively are just saying, you're putting them in check, right? You're saying, I am going to win the game in 3 turns if you do not out this guy.
This one might be the worst the turn you play it, which sounds weird to me because it does come out and immediately does 5 to something. I think this is the most answerable Titan I've seen. I'm gonna put it at the bottom right now. I am.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Based on how you were describing that, it seemed like you were going to put it at the top. Like you were hyping this one up. But okay,
I was.
For sure.
But I think, like, I'm a control mage. I think in terms of answers, I think this is the most answerable one, which gives it the lowest floor to me.
Where do you think this lays out your best to worst here?
Well, I might be biased here because I actually played Mage when I did play this game. So I just liked the Mage cards generally. So I feel like against my better judgment, I'm probably going to rate this higher than I want to. I definitely think that this card, the fact that this card doesn't have immediate protection hurts it. Just because that is something that is... to make sure you get all 3 effects of this, ensuring you have some degree of protection. And the secret, I don't think, is good enough because it's random. It's definitely not at the top by any means. I think I'm going to put it above Hunter, below Demon Hunter. I think it's good. I think the lack of protection is a concern. I think the ceiling's very high, but I think Hearthstone might be just fast enough now that this card could potentially run into some problems.
Amethyst the Peacekeeper is 7 mana for a 1/8 Titan with taunt. Your minions can't take more than 2 damage at a time.
To clarify with this, does that mean this card itself also cannot take more than 2? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
If I have a 5 health minion and it gets attacked by a 7/7, it only takes 2?
It would only take 2, and then it would also do all of its attack power back to the other.
Okay. That's not fair. That's not what these countries of ours were founded on. Fairness. That ain't right.
Okay, so let's see what broken abilities this has. Reinforced, not reinforced. Draw 2 minions, set their attack, health, and cost to 2. So if I recall, draw 2 minions is it just takes 2 guys out of your deck.
Yep. I will say, I don't know if you noticed like the trend, but every one of these Titans has a proactive, a reactive, and a contextual base move. Right? Like they're all like that.
They want to fit into every type of situation. They just want them to never be bad. By the way, soliloquy, monologue. In Magic the Gathering, most Planeswalkers were designed this way for a pretty long time until they realized that's not very fun.
What do you mean?
Because every Planeswalker started to feel the same after a few years. Every Planeswalker had...
Oh, sure.
It had a card advantage mode, it had a remove a thing mode, and it had a game warping effect that you built yourself up to as usually the last thing you did. It got old because all Planeswalkers felt the same, and the company has done better recently of designing Planeswalkers with abilities that fit certain strategies and deck types, as opposed to just generically busted. I think you want to come out swinging, right? You want your new card type to be hype, right?
For sure.
You want people to play them. The worst thing you can do is make them boring. But I think over time, they fit specific strategies more and more to keep it from being the same forever.
Yes, sure.
All right.
I know what you mean.
Empowered, give your other minions +2/+2. That's okay. There's plenty of other cards in Paladin that do this, if I recall, or something similar. And then pacified, set the attack and health of all enemy minions to 2. Oh, this is like the one card that does that.
This card is very board centric, like what Paladin.
I mean, Paladin is a board centric class, from what I remember, so that's not surprising.
On one hand, this can come down and sort of nerf their whole board with that effect the turn you play it.
Yes.
You know what I think is worse than that? When you play this on a board and you don't have to do that yet. Oh, God. We talked in the last one about the knowledge that this is coming. So why bother building a board? They're all just going to be 2 health and be able to do no damage and die to literally anything the opponent does. God, this card has to be miserable to play against. Like, this... You know how Dr. Boom came down in that tournament and people were like, oh, we're fucked? Like
Yeah,
there's
it's the
gotta be,
same.
there have to be boards where you play this and you look and you're like, what could I do?
I feel like similar to Demon Hunter, there are ways that this card could be very good.
Okay.
But I think it's it's like a very contextual thing.
I'm very
like-
excited to see where you place this. I want you to know this is probably the one that I think you're gonna have the most trouble with placing. It's such a weird effect. Like I think it's like, even I've seen people misplay with this card all the time. Like the fact that you can only take 2 damage, I think it's very deceptively strong. Like just giving your minions +2/+2 because like you said earlier, it does give them that extra hit if they can't deal with the Amatus.
I don't like that she herself has taunt. It's a double-edged sword. So it's almost like the opposite of the other Titans, where like instead of wanting to protect the Titan, she's wanting to protect the rest of the board.
I will say, just from a design perspective, if she didn't have taunt, it would be one of the most frustrating cards ever to face against.
I could see that. I
think maybe they had it without taunt to begin with, and then I think they realized, like, hold on, like, this is miserable.
Paladin,
yeah.
Yeah, you just have to respect a good Paladin curve, and then this?
Yeah, actually, pretty much, yeah. That's exactly what the play pattern is.
This might be the best one.
Okay.
Sure. I don't want to have to go through a whole tier list right now. I want to move through this list. Let's put it at the top. To the top.
Okay.
This card is stupid. I hate this card.
I feel like this is similar to Demon Hunter, where it's I don't have enough of the context to really evaluate this. I understand, like, fighting for the board. This card is like a huge dominating presence. I think I like this better than Argus.
Okay. So number 3. Okay.
So number 3, Amonol, 7 mana, 3/10. After this uses an ability, discover any legendary minion. Great. All right. This is very priest, by the way.
Yes, it is. So to give you context for this one, that means any legendary minion from any class. Normally when you discover, it can only be from neutral and priest. You can discover anything.
Okay, well, this is already going to be insanely popular, whether it's good or not. Like, the people just want to roll with that.
Shape the Stars. Cool name. Choose a non-Titan minion. Summon a copy of it with +2/+2. Okay, that's also very priest. Strike from History. This, I gotta say, the names for all the stuff on this guy are sick.
Choose 2 enemy minions. Remove them from the game.
So that means they don't die. They're poofed.
no.
They're Thanos. Like, they're gone.
And that does include Titans.
That does include Titan.
Okay. I vibe with that. I'm a control gamer. I'm feeling this.
Vision of Hero. Summon a random 6-cost minion. Give it Taunt and Lifesteal. Okay, so... Oh, geez. This is giving me flashbacks to Firelands Portal. Oh, my God. This guy's insane. This guy is insane. He gives you the card value just using its abilities. You don't have to waste an ability to do it. Unless it's like the Druid one that you get to draw 10. But it's just all upside there.
I would play this card every day till it rotated. If, I weren't making content, you got to pay that content creator tax where you'd play other things,
Yeah.
But I would play this every day, probably. I would spam the hell out of this.
This is like a literal Reddit custom card that Priest made. Like, that's what this sounds like to me. I feel as though Shape the Stars is the weakest of these abilities, but I feel like even that is still really good under the right circumstances. Yeah, this card's... I think this card's incredible. I'm going to put this... I still think the Druid one is better. I think I'm going to put this above Death Knight.
So you think of Manthel's number 2. Okay.
Yes.
Sizing it up against the other Titans. I'm trying not to go on a rabbit hole of like which Titan beats which every single time. I just want to put it in a spot and then like evaluate at the end. Let's put this one at number 3. All you got to do is control the board and play this card and just ride random legendaries to victory. That sounds so freaking delightful. And it's so hard to kill. It's got 10 on the ass, dude.
Okay, so this is Rogue. I want to just kind of give you a little bit more context for Rogue only. Rogue for this set specifically got like a mech package. So like that's why he looks like that. His name is actually Voltron, but in case you were curious.
I can read Leet speak, Rarran, okay? I'm still hip with the kids. All right, so Voltron Prime, 3/5, weakest of the Titans that we've seen thus far. This minion's abilities repeat on another random friendly minion.
Oh, goody. Oh, let's read some stuff. Attack the cannons. Nope, attach the cannons. Gain +2/+1. Deal 4 damage to a random enemy. It gains the +2/+1, and a friendly minion gains the +2/+1, and you deal 8 damage to random enemies.
Yep.
All right.
Full power, gain +1/+2, draw a card. So this probably is obvious, but if I don't have any other minions, I'm assuming the effect does not replicate.
No, just the one time on him.
Maximize defense, gain +3 health, and can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. Ooh.
Hexproof is like its own version of a defense. I feel like so many of these Titans are just susceptible, or a lightning rod, actually, for hard removal. The health could almost be irrelevant sometimes, where giving this hexproof makes it actually a lot harder to kill, especially if it's an 8 health minion at that point.
The comments I get a lot when I say stupid things on your channel specifically is like, he doesn't understand how easy it is in Hearthstone for them to sweep the board. And you know what? Yes. You know what? You're right. I don't. In Magic, we just have 4 mana, Day of Judgment, everything dies. It's more complicated in Hearthstone, but
Holy.
I get an
That's a crazy
idea.
spell.
Yeah, it's kind of good, right? That is a pretty big downside, that you need something else. Obviously, when you have something else, this thing is cooking. Like, the abilities are good.
I'm not in love with Voltron Prime. I do think the hexproof ability is very relevant to ensure that this card will survive to use all of its abilities.
I think the fact that it needs another friendly minion makes it like really strange to evaluate. It needs another minion to be as good as the other Titans, I guess you could say.
That's how I feel. I feel like if you don't have another minion, I feel as though this card it's fine, but not great.
This plus something else versus some of these other Titans, I'm still not confident that Voltron Prime is the better one. So right away, it feels like it's closer to middle of the pack. You know what? I'm gonna reevaluate later. For now, we're gonna put it. You get the bottom. You go to the bottom. You require something else. You start in the bottom.
I'm really not a fan of this one because you need another minion. I don't think it's that difficult to get another minion because this is only 6 mana. That's pretty low. Okay, I'm gonna put this at the bottom, actually.
Okay, I will say this. You are entirely right. This is the worst Titan by far because of the fact that not only, like, I think you can look at its abilities and be like, these kind of suck compared to the other ones, which is like, it's not doing something bad, but like you compare it to other Titans, you're like, okay, this isn't like that good. This one is just objectively the worst one.
Golganeth the Thunderer. This guy's sick. 6, 5, 7. Your first spell each turn costs 3 less. That's insane. Okay.
Roaring Oceans. Deal 3 damage to all enemies and restore 6 health to all friendly characters. Oh. It comes with a board wipe mass heal effect.
We haven't actually seen any of these have board wipes. I believe they all are just either destroy 1 thing or 2 things at most. Lord of Skies. Oh man, this is sick. Deal 20 damage to a minion. Okay.
Is that enough? Did that do it? Does that do the job? Did most things die?
Okay.
Is 20 a relevant number in the meta today?
Fun fact. When this card was printed and they showed us the effects, there was no minion in the game that had 20 health. Okay. And I remember saying, like, during the release of the set, I was like, they have to print a minion that has 20 health, right? That doesn't make any sense why they're doing this. Fast forward to this expansion we're currently in, Perils in Paradise. They actually released the minion with 20 health. So this card can kill every minion on the board.
All right.
Any minion on the board.
It's very important.
And Shargon's Wrath. Draw 3 overload cards. This guy's fun. I love this. Okay. Dealing 20 damage to a minion, I think, is actually very strong. If you need to get rid of opposing Titan, this is a way to do it. And so I think that's very good, especially if the Titans are revered as being as good as they are.
20 damage. I love that it's 20 damage just for the flash effect. Just say a stupid number. Just let people...
Should have been 100.
Yeah, why not? When this comes down, you are either, if they're wide, you're destroying a ton of stuff. And if they're tall, you destroy the one thing. So if they have anything on board at all, you're doing something about it. And if they don't, you draw 3. That's busted.
This one actually doesn't really have any protection in any of its abilities. It's a board wipe, a single target removal, or you get to draw 3 overload cards, which is okay. This is sort of like the very offense aggro heavy Titan. But if you're trying to ensure that you're going to survive, I guess that's sort of where Roaring Oceans comes in, because you can effectively clear the board to make it harder for them to reestablish to deal 7 damage to this.
I'm just putting myself in the shoes of, I don't have an answer to this. Like, you're like, oh God, I guess I'll just play this like off curve, weak ass minion that's and I hope they deal 20 to it. And they're like, nah, I'll just build a better board, or I'll just deal with it some other way and just hang on to my deal 20. And you're like, oh. It's getting really crowded at the top. Put it 4th right now. It might move up.
4th, under Ominous. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to place him between Amonol and Primus.
Okay, so you think he's the 3rd best? Okay.
I think I might put Primus. It might be 4th best. That was what I was just looking at here.
You're good. No worries. You can rearrange it at the end after you see the full thing if you really want to. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I will give you. I'll give it like some defense to this card in case you were like a little like curious. So the fact that you get 3 less, you get to save 3 mana on your next spell is kind of his protection, right? Like if you play this, you could like use your Lightning Storm to protect the board, and then if there's another minion, you can use the Roaring Ocean, right? Which is really, really good. There's one big minion, you fucking strike it with 20 damage, which is absolutely hysterical. I don't know why they did it so high up. But yeah, it kills any minion in the game, which is like a really, really big thing for Shaman. And like worst case scenario, if there's nothing else to do, drawing 3 cards and specifically overload cards, if you have a very specific deck for that, can be very, very strong.
Sargeras, which you were kind enough to pronounce for me, is 9 mana for a 6/12 demon. With Battle Cry, open a portal that summons 2 3/2 imps each turn.
Opening a portal, is this just like a permanent thing that for the rest of the game is just there?
It will not be removed. There's only 1 card in the game that can, and that is the new version of Reno, which I showed you.
And so every turn, you're getting 3/2 imps.
To the void, send all other minions into the twisting nether.
Yeah, so the minions don't die. Again, they're just sucked into the portal, and they're just poofed. Just like Amatus.
So exiled, basically.
Exiled, yeah, okay, for sure.
Inferno. Summon 2 6/6 Infernals from the Twisting Nether. So is the Twisting Nether just, again, well, what's the difference between this and just summoning 2 6/6 anything?
Read the next one.
Okay, all right.
Legion Invasion. Future demons summoned from the Twisting Nether have +2 health and taunt. Okay.
A board wipe's a board wipe. This thing already costs 9 mana. For my infantile Hearthstone experience, I'm pretty sure Twisting Nether was 8. So you're getting 1 extra mana for a 6/12. Seems pretty good to blow up the board.
And you summon 2 3/2s at the end of your turn.
And you summon 2 3/2s at the end of the turn, yeah. Which is convenient because you'll send everything to the Twisting Nether first, then get your 3/2 guys.
This one's expensive, and it should be. This card comes down, and it does add some inevitability to the game of just like the imps are going to be there forever. But as long as you guys are throwing haymakers back and forth, the imps are probably good, maybe not busted at that stage. If you get that early by some cheaty method, though, God, that's going to be annoying.
Turn 9 rolls around, you board wipe them, and then they have to slowly recover, or they have to deal with Sargeras with like combat removal or something. And then the following turn, you can Legion Invasion, and then the turn after that, you can Inferno to get like the maximum value. Alternatively, you could also Legion Invasion first if it's like an open board, get your 2 3/4s to protect him. You could To the Void nuke on the following turn because you don't care if the imps die because you're just going to get them back anyway. And then on the 3rd turn, you're going to get your 6/8s.
I mean, does anything else, everything else is powerful. Does anything else have this kind of inevitability? Like you can fight your way through a lot when you're getting 2 3/4 taunts every turn for nothing. Oh my God. Is this the one? Oh man. Is this the one? Is this the golden stitch?
He seems good. I'm not like mega impressed with him. I think it's above average. I'll say that. I think for now, because I might rearrange some of these, it's definitely going in the top half. Man, I like Golganeth. Golganeth's cool. I'm going to put it below Golganeth.
Put it at number 1 for now. I'm coming back to it. I've got to actually see right now. The problem is I'm looking at a list and it's a bunch of names, a bunch of A names specifically, and I can't even figure out, like, I can't remember what they all do. But this card is stupid.
Khazgoroth. After this uses an ability, gain immune this turn and attack a random enemy minion. That's very warrior. That's almost like, well, I mean, hunter and warrior are kind of one and the same sometimes, but okay.
Titan Forge, gain +2/+2 and draw a weapon.
Heart of Flame, gain +5 health, give your hero +5 armor. That's fine. So you're giving yourself +10 so you can survive. Sure. And then Tempering, gain +5 attack, give your hero +5 attack this turn.
Okay, you play this. Maybe you buff it up, draw a weapon, and kill a random enemy minion. And then on the opponent's turn, let's say it's even a 6. It doesn't seem that hard with a 6 or a 7 drop to answer another 6. At least not with the cards I'm seeing. This also looks like a very answerable Titan.
This is a cool guy. This is a very warrior card.
But is it good?
So if you go 6 mana 9/4 with immune, so it's going to guarantee kill whatever. It's like single spot removal. Gain 2/2 draw. I wish it just equipped the weapon. It's kind of lame. It just draws it. That could also suck because if you see this late game and you already went through your weapons, then this ability is literally just gain 2/2.
Where did I put the other answerable Titan?
Which one was the other one? Mage? That's what you're talking about? Mage? If
Yeah,
you're talking
it was
Mage.
Mage.
Mage is
Yeah.
currently second last.
Second to last. I'm gonna put this below that. It's a fine card, and maybe I have to reevaluate because it's cheaper, right? So its tempo is probably really good. It's still really good, but it also, as far as answerable, like I'm looking at what's game warping and creates inevitability, and just this isn't quite that. But I'll reevaluate in a little while. This looks the most answerable to me.
I'm not like in love with this card. Let me see where I want to put this. I'm definitely putting it towards the middle or lower. Sargeras was the Warlock one. It's definitely going below Sargeras, I think. I might put it below Argus, honestly.
Below Argus? Okay.
I'll put it there for now. I might rearrange at the end.
The very last one is a familiar face for the neutral pool.
Yogg! He's back! And he's unleashed. All right.
15 for a 7/5. That's a rate. It costs 1 less to cast for each spell you've cast this game.
This kind of sucks. Oh wait, but there's abilities. Hold on, I forgot. I'm like, this is just a vanilla. This is just a vanilla. I'm like, this is terrible. This is awful. Okay, Reign of Chaos. Take control. Okay, this immediately got better. All right, so take control of an enemy minion, induce insanity, force each enemy minion to attack a random enemy minion.
Not necessarily a board wipe, but it feels board wipey effect. Probably a good amount of the time. Tentacle Swarm. Fill your hand with 1/1 Chaotic Tentacles. And a Chaotic Tentacle is 1 mana for a 1/1 battle cry. Cast a random 1-cost spell. Improve your future tendrils.
So it will go up to, it'll go 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. Once you get to 10 mana or 10 cost spells, it will not increase anymore. They will only cast 10 cost spells at that point. And I will mention that there are other cards in this set that also produce Chaotic Tendrils, as well as Chaotic Tendril is a minion you can just put into your deck.
Thank you for that note. I have a feeling that's not necessary, but maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there's a way to cast them for free. I don't know.
So obviously taking control of an enemy minion is really good, especially if you're playing a deck that plays a lot of spells. Although I feel like Hearthstone's definitely more minion based unless you're playing like specifically Mage or some sort of like spell type deck. So you sort of have to build around this to a degree, but being able to go like 2 mana 7/5, take like mind control something your opponent has, especially if they have a Titan, like that's crazy. Forcing each enemy minion to attack a random enemy minion. There are plenty of things in Hearthstone I feel like that do something similar to this, and at the end of the day it's sort of like just a board wipe.
This feels like if you get to cast this and draw, let's say it says fill your hands, let's even say we had like 3 or 4 cards left over, right? You still get like 5 or 6 tendrils, and then each one you play 1 and it casts a random spell, plus you keep the 1/1. Then the next one, which you still only cast for 1, or does now it cost? Yeah, it only costs 1, but you cast a random 2.
Yep.
And then for 1, you cast a random 3.
Yeah.
It is must-see television. Like is some kind of an absolute
television.
It is a nonsense show. It is a pure nonsense show. How could you not love this card?
The tendril thing is very funny. It's very Yogg. So that's cool. Where does this go? It is neutral, so I mean any class can play it. I don't know if that necessarily weighs into like how good it is.
It might. It might not.
Part of what I'm thinking too is how much the late game matters, because if it is going to take some degree of time to get this to a point where you actually want to play it potentially, but even if you people play Brawl and stuff for 5 mana, and so if you go Yogg Saron Unleashed on 5, it's a 7/5, and then you force everything to attack, but that also includes itself, so it could just die.
No, it's only the enemy minions.
Oh, enemy minions, sorry. Okay, that makes this way better then. Yeah, he's fine. Your whole board is fine. I thought it was just everything attacks at random. Okay, no, that's infinitely better now. I think I'm gonna put this for now between Sargeras and Primus.
It's got to be insanely popular. If people at least gave it the best shot they could. I don't know where to place it right now. I've got to go down this whole list anyway. So let's put it 3rd from the top without even trying to figure out what these are.
3rd from the top?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then I'm going to go and we're going to take the long look.
You could go through the list and see if you want to change any of them. That's completely fine. Reminder, one of these, and there's only one that was nerfed. The rest of them are completely the same as they are in the game right now.
All right. Yogg is the face of the company. Aonar is the druid one. So they tested that one to death. I don't think it's that. I'm going to go with Sargeras. I'm going with it.
You think Sargeras? Could you just do you want to leave your best? Do you want to leave it? Do you want to leave it the exact same for the list?
Oh, for the list.
Just so
sure.
Okay.
Sure. Let's do it.
Okay, so after going through the list a little bit, all I really did was I put Amonol slightly lower. I think I value the two Titans that have board wipes a bit higher.
Okay.
Yeah. And Yogg also has a board wipe, so maybe I should put Yogg slightly above Amonol too. But Amonol is just a really cool design. I think I'm just being a bit biased, but I'm pretty happy with this configuration.
What I did was I pulled up HS Replay, which is basically like an aggregate site that has a bunch of data that tells you what the drawn linear of cards is for people that use that deck thing. So I use the deck tracker. So I went through that to see what they would go for. The issue is like the sample size of some of them are a lot lower, as you could probably guess, because they're just shitty cards. So for example, the bottom two easily are Voltron from Rogue and the Mage one. The problem with Norgannon is, you're right, like the first turn you play it, it's often not as good as you think, but if your opponent has like any minion on board, they often just kill it and you're just playing a 6 mana, like I guess maybe slightly inconveniencing your hand or your opponent's hand. I would say on average, the Demon Hunter one and the Warrior one are next. The problem with those two is, which is really strange because we all saw the Demon Hunter one and like, what the fuck? Discounting your whole hand or your minions by 2 mana? That's not illegal. But it turns out it's actually like not that great. Kasgroth is probably the one above that. Again, it's not like it's a bad minion, but it definitely doesn't do a ton. This is where it gets a little weird. Other than Argus, all of them are kind of very similar to one another in terms of power level. It really depends on what deck is very popular because, for instance, the highest one on the list is Amatis. And that is a symptom because of Hand Buff Paladin. Hand Buff Paladin, you can actually buff the stats of it to make it more annoying. And then they only take 2 damage at a time, which is really annoying. So Amatis was really, really good. Before that, you had Sargeras, who was also extremely powerful in very certain decks. If I'm thinking over the entire time that Titans have been out, it's basically a toss-up. Like Primus, Amatis, Amonol, Sargeras, the Shaman one, I'm not even going to bother pronouncing the name, have all been relatively like pretty great. That leaves us with 3. That leaves us with Yogg, the Primus, and Aonor. Sargeras was not the one nerfed. Sargeras was not. Aonor, which is probably the most explosive Titan in terms of like what it can do, not nerfed. Primus, not nerfed. Amatis, not nerfed. The only one that was nerfed was Yogg-Saron.
No. Surely no. So they must have tested. They knew. They must have known. There's no way they didn't know. How did they not know?
When Yogg was released, he costs 15 mana, right? And people were like, there's no way this card's going to be playable, dude. There's no way. It's 15 mana. But the thing is, the fact that it could be reduced by its cost for every time you cast a spell, you could get it down very quickly. And then it was often just who would play the Yogg first and then who would counter their Yogg. And it was obviously really bad gameplay because it's not really in the theme of Yogg-Saron to be like not the random guy for Hearthstone, but more importantly, it was just an insanely powerful effect. And then the game then came down to, if you play your Yogg and I haven't played my Yogg yet and I have my Yogg, you're fucked because I'm going to take your Yogg now because I have the mind control effect. This card, I've brought it up before. I did a top 100 cards of all time in Hearthstone. You want to guess where Yogg was? Not one.
In the top 100 of all time.
100 of all time.
Like top 20?
He was 2.
Oh, 2.
This is my defense of the card too, is because there's no other card in Hearthstone that I could really remember other than Undertaker. Like Undertaker is the one thing I remember clearly from all these years. But there's no, in both formats, Wild and Standard, the entire game was warped around this card. Like Yogg-Saron was the card. And it's interesting because like, yeah, 15 mana seems like it wouldn't be that good. And then, but it ended up being so strong. I'm going to show you what the current version looks like, so you have a better concept of what the card looks like now.
But they put it to like 20.
No, it's not. It's actually not 20 mana. It is. I'll let you see it right here. Hold on. The same abilities for the record. They didn't change the abilities, but that's what it reads now.
They made it cheaper. 9 mana. After this uses an ability, cast 2 random spells. What?
Yeah.
That's not the same card.
Yeah. So it no longer gets reduced in cost, right? It is it's static 9 mana. It's still good. Like, don't get me wrong. It is still very much played because you could steal a Titan, whatever, but it's not nearly as good. It's interesting listening to your thought process going through this because, yeah, objectively speaking, all of these are fine. I like the Voltron and Norgana one are like absolute dog shit compared to the rest of them, though, to be completely honest. But most of them are just pretty great. But yeah, dude, Eonar and Yogg have been insane. Like, Eonar has the potential to just absolutely pop off and enable something of, I want to say, illegal in the game. I'm genuinely surprised it hasn't been nerfed yet. And the biggest thing for Eonar, like I've said earlier, is that you can copy the card and then double your refresh of mana.
I think looking at my list, I actually had like the chunks for the most part kind of correct. I think the only thing that was like really out of place was like Amethyst, but that's like obviously a bit subjective based off your data. And then Agrimar, I was apparently way off on, but I felt Agrimar was sort of one-dimensional, sort of like the warrior one, but like it feels as though Agrimar does more of the hunter thing than Khaz'goroth does for the warrior thing. So that's probably a reason to like weigh that like way higher. But in terms of like looking at everything else you said, it's sort of like the chunks are all there. It's just the order may not necessarily been right.
Yeah. I think especially the Hunter one is really interesting because I think for the most part, it's like, I'm just going to smack your face and you're going to have to answer this card. And I already have the weapon. So it's like, even if you deal with the Titan, like it's a double-edged sword for you for removing it because you're spending your mana on it already.
Right. I didn't consider that actually. That's smart. Yeah.
It is a really good card. But those are the Titans. The real question is, will you do better than a Magic creator who has Planewalkers in their game?
I'd be curious because they already have the insight of Planeswalkers and how they are good or not, where I know what Planeswalkers are, but that's about it.
Yes.
So I hope CGB does better than I do because if not, I don't know what that says, but this was interesting. This was really cool. A lot of these cards have really neat designs. I like them a lot. I still think Amonol is the coolest. He's sick.
This was really hard. I'm tilted it was Yogg. I feel like there was so much put into understanding all of the cards that when I got to the end, I was so exhausted and beat down. I'm just like, well, shit, I hope they balanced it. And I bet that's the same way whoever's in charge of development sent Yogg out the door.
I guess in this case, because you had Planeswalkers in your deck, I guess you had a slightly better list than he did. But overall, I think you guys were really close.
Yeah, this was a ton of fun. This was really cool. And dang it, all Yoggs are busted. That's what I'm going to remember once again.